This is MakerGalaxy.
We're always talking about the future of design, the future of technology, the future of making. In a world where creating on-demand custom apparel and footwear is the new norm. A world where the common manicure will be able to include custom embedded sensors. How do we find the next big thing? MakerGalaxy is a show that explores the crossroads of design, technology, and the future of making. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Simon Martin, and this week we talked with product designers Drew Downie and Patrick Triato of BND Products. Drew and Patrick just launched their first product together as a design duo on Kickstarter that aims to revolutionize how guitarists and other musicians travel with their guitar stands on the road. Their BND is a fully collapsible and flexible guitar stand that can easily be packed in existing guitar cases and amplifiers. We'll talk with Drew and Patrick about everything from how they got their start in product design, how they found harmony in working together, what they've learned about developing a product for Kickstarter, and more. Today's episode is brought to you by the new Objet 500 Connects 3 from Stratasys, the world's only color and multi-material 3D printer, offering incomparably brilliant and consistent colors, plus transparent colors. The Objet 500 Connects 3 lets you create the most true-to-life modeling possible. Find out more at stratasys.com. Welcome, Patrick and Drew. We'll get into BND Products in a little bit, but before we do, we want to know. You guys live in Portland, Oregon, home of various wonderful donut shops. Where can we find the best donut in Portland, and what should we get there?
Patrick, you want to take this one? So in my recent donut excursions, there's a place that just opened called Blue Star Donuts, and it's pretty fantastic. And I'm kind of a classic guy. I just go with the Blue Star Glaze.
That sounds awesome. And as somebody from Portland myself, I can vouch for that and say it's way better than Voodoo Donut, which is what everybody else seems to be talking about.
What are you waiting in line for? Right.
So, cool. Let's start from the beginning. Who are you guys, and can you tell us a little bit about your background, starting with you, Drew?
Yeah, I have a product design degree, and I'm from Ohio. And then I moved out here about 3 years ago to join this experimental advertising kind of year-long program at the agency called Wyden & Kennedy here in Portland. And then from that, I kind of learned the mixture of like making products and learning how to tell stories about them, like get people excited about them. And through that, I met these guys. I met Patrick and a few other of our coworkers from the past, and me and Patrick both worked at a small studio called New, and it was product design consultancy. And then kind of over the last 2 years, we've come to where we are today.
Awesome. And you, Patrick, can you tell us a little bit about your product design engineering background?
Sure. So I am also a Ohio native. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I went to school at Case Western and the Cleveland Institute of Art, and graduated with a product design engineering degree. And then kind of did my thing in Cleveland for a couple of years, and then visited Portland twice. And one of the first things I did here was this thing called the bridge pedal, which is basically the city of Portland just shuts down all the freeway bridges, and there are a lot of those. Yeah, there's 12 at least, and you can ride your bike around the entire city on all these bridges, and it kind of like sealed the deal for me. I was like, okay, I've got to move to Portland. So what I ended up doing was taking 2 months off of everything and riding my bike from Ohio to Portland, Oregon, and yeah, and so I did that, and as soon as I got here, I hooked up with Jason and Carl of New Studio, and started working with them for, probably 4 years. And New Studio kind of developed into other things, and we still work with Carl now. And we kind of formed a new consultancy for branding and product design called Collaboration Project, and a small shop. And one of the things we like to do is start side projects like Ben products and take our creative ideas out into the world.
So, okay, you dove into this a little bit, but I mean, how did you guys end up really clicking and then started to create this partnership? I mean, how did that work?
So, Drew and I, we worked at New Studio together, and immediately kind of, we had similar backgrounds, we're interested in the same things. And we just kind of, we started reading the same books and just kind of getting the same idea kind of vibes from each other, and, kind of made an early decision that we wanted to basically, go the entrepreneurship way. Yeah, exactly. So, this was right when Kickstarter was actually like pretty new. And we were like, what a cool idea, what a better way to like start something and get it out there. So we kind of fell in love with that, and fell in love with, sort of clearing our own paths, and, doing something creative that's also can make a living off of. So,
yeah, and to add to that, I think we've always worked in a small studio, and it's always been no more than 4 people working in the office, and we all, over the past 2 years, we just got to know the working styles, and there's no corporate, environment that we've had to work around. So we literally are just, someone sketches something out of an idea that they have, and everyone else in the room is kind of just like, you know what, that is a pretty cool idea. And before we know it, we've already started making moves to turn it into either a company or a product, and just make it real. And it's kind of easy when you've been in the trenches with some of these guys, and me and Patrick especially, for the last 3 years.
That's awesome. And so, I mean, I understand for all the listeners, I actually know Patrick from previously when I was in Portland, and I know that, Patrick, you have a solid foundation in engineering and hold over 50 patents. So would you say one of you guys might bring something different to the table in your partnership, or is it pretty much split down the middle with you both have product design backgrounds?
I mean, I would definitely say we be complementary. Yeah, it's a complementary thing for sure. Drew is amazing at storytelling and really getting people to understand it on a very infinite level, whereas I'm kind of like I just come up with some ideas, and I know how to do the mechanics and the patents behind it. And talking to people is not really my forte.
Yeah, we both come up with ideas, but then they have like the opposite spectrum. Like Patrick will have an idea, and I'm already thinking of, how can we turn this into something that people can rally behind? And of course, I have a product design background, so I definitely see how things are made, and work in a product design studio. But in terms of strengths and skills, Patrick's engineering background can just think of products as a whole way faster than I can. And so I think in that way, we definitely balance each other out. So we play to our strengths.
Totally. And I'll bet that your experience at Wieden and Kennedy really helped shape a strong foundation in storytelling abilities.
Yeah. You would never, writing is so crucial. I never thought it to be true when I was in high school English class, but writing copy and writing a compelling email to tell someone about your product, and turning it from a feature listing to a story that they will actually read the rest of your email, even that alone is something that's pretty important. So, videos and photography and just making your product kind of all around makes sense to people is crucial.
And so with all of these elements, you guys have just launched the Bend 1 portable guitar stand on Kickstarter. Can you tell us a little bit about the product and who it's for?
So the idea of the Bend 1 came like when I was still back in college. I was on summer break, and I used to play in this band called Bears, and we would tour, and usually the East Coast, and just kind of was one of those things that I was just basically observing life, you know, and kind of open to new ideas and things. And one of the, you know, major frustrations of being in a touring band was all the gear. You know, it's like we don't have roadies, we don't have anything like that. So it was kind of one of those aha moments, like, man, these guitar stands really suck. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we could just wrap up a guitar stand and put it where our cables go, or put it in our guitar case? Like, that would just make so much sense. And kind of, you know, sketched it down in a notebook, and kind of hadn't looked at that notebook since 2013, and came across it again and was like, wow, that's still a viable idea. Like, hey Drew, let's do something about this.
I definitely saw him. I walked past, again, we had such a small studio. I walked past his computer and I saw his sketchbook and something he was working on. And I always know he's up to something when he's got some cool renderings on the page or on the screen. I just said, what's going on there? And he's like, oh, it's this idea for this guitar stand. And he immediately, within 2 sentences, I was like, wow, how can I help get involved with this? This is a great idea. And it's kind of one of those, any other product that you could describe in a sentence or 2 sentences and people immediately get it. That's kind of when we both knew it was something to pursue. So we've been working since to kind of develop it to where it is today.
And how long have you guys been working on the development of it for?
I guess we've been working on it almost full-time for like a year.
Right on. It's got a very clean execution. And with that, I must say that your Kickstarter page is very well thought out in terms of video and image production quality and clarity.
Thank you.
And it also features a heavy dose of your development process, including focus groups, rough prototypes, sketches, etc. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you guys approached the design process for the Bend 1?
Yeah, basically it started with, the idea of this very extremely portable guitar stand. And we kind of looked at all kinds of folding things and coiling things and materials and, basically pros and cons of all materials out there. And as soon as we figured out, what worked best and what was the most stable and, what we can make, aesthetically pleasing, we kind of went from there. And, there were, to date, I would say there's probably upwards of 7 or 8 prototypes, full-scale prototypes that we made and destroyed and, made again. So,
there were definitely some challenges we encountered too. I think we mentioned this to you over email, but one thing we worked out through all these prototypes was the idea that yes, we want this stand to be extremely bendable and fit wherever you want it to go, but at the end of the day, it's still a guitar stand. So the prototypes really hashed out how to balance out this flexible material that's with the stability that we needed for it to still be, establish its main function, which is to hold up your guitar. So, there was a lot of things we changed in the prototypes over the course of time, one of which was, some of the original prototypes were all flexible material, and it wasn't sturdy enough. So then we ended up having to add just little sections of it that were actually solid metal on places that we were like, this part should not bend. This is the part where, if anything, it should not bend, which one of the pieces is the actual base that you rest your guitar on. It doesn't bend downwards, so your guitar will never touch the ground. It's the idea. But pretty much the rest of the guitar stand is adjustable.
And I think it's awesome. I mean, so many musicians today are, they're laptop musicians. They're always on the go. They just want something they can take with them wherever. So I think it's hitting the market at the perfect time right now.
So that's our hope.
So now, this isn't your first Kickstarter project either. I mean, you guys mentioned earlier you had been working together, and you had the Zuka iPad speaker that was successfully funded and finally ended up being sold in the Apple Store of all places, which is sort of a holy grail if you're going to design Apple product accessories. So what are some lessons you guys learned from that, and what were some highs and lows that kind of helped drive this Kickstarter project?
It's a good one. Just the first off is that project ended up growing into a company that we, personally, I was not a technical founding member, and the two of us were not, there were powers that be that ended up becoming above us, and the high, I guess, was launching, and this product and this idea that, started as a small group was gaining so much success, and we did hit the Apple Store, which I think is a pretty cool thing when your product is on the Apple Store shelves. But over the last 2 years, the company grew and people were brought on, and I think there were decisions made that ended up having us grow a little too fast. Your product's on the Apple Store shelves, which is great because it's a really small retail environment, especially for electronics, where people can feel the product and see it and talk to a representative. But when someone like Walmart wants your product, or Target, and you kind of work your way into those places and get into all their stores, and then you don't have the marketing to back it up, and your product can get lost. So that was one of the lessons: is grow as organically as possible and start small and just work our way up. I don't know, Patrick has a different view because he was also the one who fielded all of the Kickstarter questions and concerns and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, from a purely Kickstarter, aspect is, I learned so much on the Zuka Kickstarter as far as communication is considered. I feel like if there's one thing that we're going to do with this Kickstarter launch is really, be absolutely as transparent and on the ball with communication as possible.
Totally. And so of all the crowdfunding platforms, why have you consistently gone to Kickstarter versus Indiegogo or Crowd Supply or any others?
It was a tough one because we were on Grand Street, which is a website for kind of new products, and we got approached by Indiegogo and Crowd Supply before we had launched. We kind of were halfway into our Kickstarter process, but they wanted us to be on their platform, and it was a tough decision.
Yeah, we had many conversations and shared many drinks about what to do with that situation, and it just ended up working in the Kickstarter favor just based on reach, experience, and I guess just familiarity. It's
very important.
Yeah.
I mean, we just knew the processes, and we knew what had changed and what to expect afterwards, and we were already entrenched about halfway, into the page itself, and there's nothing against those other two, programs or I guess websites. We definitely had a tough decision on our hand, but in the end, we had done Kickstarter, and it was kind of like a well-oiled machine for us as far as what we knew how to do to get ready for it, and we knew that people would know where we came from.
Well said. I think a lot of people just have that problem, but I think you summed it up quite nicely there. After you get funded to bring the Bend 1 into the gig cases of guitarists all around the world, are you guys going to be focusing on more products under the Bend brand?
Yeah, definitely.
We've already got, Sketchbook is just already, filled.
Yeah,
we can give you little teasers, but they involve, a lot of them involve flexibility. We'll put it that way.
Awesome.
I don't know, Patrick, you got some sketch work I probably haven't seen yet.
That's all right. I mean, I feel like leave the mystery there. I'll just leave it at that.
The answer is most definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. And one last question for each of you guys. As accomplished designers and go-getters, what is one piece of advice that you can give our listeners who want to really push their own ideas out there and get these things made?
I mean, for me, I think, one of the biggest key factors is find yourself a Drew Downie. Find yourself somebody that can complement you and your abilities and your weaknesses. Be familiar with yourself and know what you need as far as the full, what it actually takes to make a product and put it out there.
I think my advice is there's no reason not to do it, especially in this day and age where you could set up your website, get money on through crowdfunding, tell the world about it through Google advertising, and just test the response all within 48 hours if you wanted to. I've heard so many stories of people that have just literally shown their prototype to some subreddit or some post on Reddit, and everyone, by the end of the night, they've got 50 pre-orders on PayPal just from doing something like that. So you don't have to wait till it's perfect to tell people about it. There's always the patent issue, but there's provisional patents for cheap, and just don't be afraid. Don't hide your baby, because the more people see it, the more they want it.
That's a good, solid chunk of advice right there. Well, Patrick and Drew, thank you so much for joining us on the show today, and good luck with the campaign.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simon.
Today's episode was brought to you by the new Objet 500 Connects 3 from Stratasys, the world's only color and multi-material 3D printer. Offering incomparably brilliant and consistent colors, plus transparent colors, the Objet 500 Connects 3 lets you create the most true-to-life modeling possible. Find out more at stratasys.com. Thanks for checking us out today, and if you'd like to find out more about Drew, Patrick, and the Bend One, head over to their website at bndproducts.com. On our next episode, we'll be talking to one of the creators behind the revolutionary plus sign shaped pool that will be built in New York City's East River in 2016, Mr. Dong Ping Wong of the Plus Pool Project. I'm your host, Simon Martin. Stay tuned and check in with us next week on MakerGalaxy.
A production of EBD Media.